Thank you. This is the September 24th meeting of the Bylaw Review Subcommittee. We have Bill Fonseca, Ralph Page, Tom Christensen, myself, Pat Henry, Gene Quaglitti. We hope to be joined soon by Tom O'Connor. I'd like to open the meeting by, I did not notice any minutes, so I did not get a chance to review them.
Okay.
Were there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, would some, are they short enough to read?
let me see if I can pull them up. Why'd this go off?
I don't have them in front of me. I looked them over and I didn't have any issues with them.
I'm trying to find them. I've only got a few emails this week. So I am, you know what? Let's see what this is. Okay. I have the minutes and they are short enough for me to read, so I will do that. Okay. Bylaw Subcommittee meeting, September 16th, 2020, 2 p.m. via Zoom webinar. Present, Councilor Pat Henry, Councilor Vice President Tom O'Connor, Councilor Ralph Page, School Committee Member Bill Fonseca, and Town Clerk of the Council, Gene Quaglitti. Absent, DPW Superintendent Tom Christensen, Committee Chair Henry called the meeting to order at 2 p.m. Mr. Fonseca made a motion to approve the bylaw committee meeting minutes of February 10th, 2020. Councilor O'Connor seconded. All were in favor via roll call vote. The committee discussed the charter and the manner in which general code formatted it within the code. The committee agreed that they chose the option question C-001 in the final workbook to have the charter appear as a PDF in its exact appearance in the code rather than the way general code had reformatted it. This is a draft question and the committee will correct this when addressed in that question. Ms. Quaglitti will send the PDF to the charter to the committee so they can refamiliarize themselves with it, with how it looks. Fees and fines were discussed and it was agreed that this will be a large task to address with general code. This also appears as a draft question. Vice President O'Connor felt that the convenience fee charged for the online payment should appear as a fee. After some discussion, committee members agreed that since this is controlled by a third party, Unibank, it would not be appropriate to be categorized as a fee. General Code's deadline of November 6th was discussed and whether or not the committee will be able to meet that deadline. Ms. Quaglitti felt that the review of this draft was not mentioned as she first thought. The committee agreed after the next meeting they may have a better idea of the work that lies ahead and can make a better determination at that time regarding an extension of the deadline. Chair Henry addressed the manner in which the review would be approached by the committee and felt the best way would be to divide the pages of the list of changes bylaws among the committee members. He will assign this and let the members know which pages they are responsible for. Chair Henry suggested that the committee will start addressing the draft questions. The first question asks, which code adoption would the town prefer for town council approval? Mr. Fonseca motioned that the committee choose the option that the town would like a final draft of the code to adopt prior to the publication. Councilor Page seconded, and all were in favor via roll call. Chair Henry asked that in preparation for the next meeting, the committee look at the remaining 5 draft questions. The next meeting will either by,
That's a typo.
Yeah, that's a typo.
Okay.
Will be Thursday, September 24th at 3 p.m. or Friday, September 25th at 1 p.m. based on Vice President O'Connor's availability. Councilor Page made a motion to adjourn at 3:15. Vice President O'Connor seconded, and all were in favor via roll call. Respectfully submitted, Jeannie R. Quaglitti, Town Clerk clerk of the council.
Thank you, Bill. Nice job, except for I think the meeting was supposed to be at 2 o'clock.
No, it's in the minutes at 3. So we're
Right.
gonna have to change, we can either leave it that way or change it.
That's
But
what I
I've
thought
read-
you said during the meeting was 3 o'clock, but then Tom said he was available at 2, so I don't know.
I thought that was part of the issue as well.
I think that was part of the discussion. Tom said that he was either available at 2 or not.
Okay, I'll change
And we-
it to 2.
And
So
I
we
would-
can change it, whatever, but I just read what was,
I understand.
Yeah.
We did talk about that initially. That
Right.
was in favor of Ralph. We were trying to move it later, as late in the day as possible.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. And so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
so moved.
Thank you, Bill. Second? Anyone?
Second,
Thank you, Ralph. Roll call vote. Any further discussion on the minutes as adjusted? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Bill Fonseca,
Yes,
Ralph Page,
yes.
Tom Christensen.
I'll abstain.
Good point. And I myself am a yes. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I would like now to move on to open the meeting to one by one. I'll ask you what you found and give me your ideas, starting with Ralph.
Great. So I started going through draft questions and I find it very difficult that I'm looking at the draft question, then I've got to open up such as the charter, then I've got to open up the charter enhancements and try and compare everything. It seems like a slow process. I have found a few issues, but I'm not sure. I think the main issue is when I went through all the questions to begin with, I made all my corrections and all my changes. And then when we went through as a board, and it may not have been my correction that was adopted. And so I just circled the next one. And so now when I'm trying to review it, I get to that question and I have 2 things circled. So I'm trying to figure out which one is which. I mean, for the most part, from what I'm seeing, at least in their draft of 6 pages of questions, it seems very simple to go through. I think that's where we start, and with a little bit more time and a few long nights, I can get through the chapters or the sections that you gave me.
Thank you. I would mention that if you can't follow your draft, that in your hardcover draft, because of different markings, and we did make multiple decisions during the time. If you can't follow that, you can open up Jeannie's email that she sent us following last meeting, at which the document that she actually sent, and you can see what she sent. Another way you can address it is to look at the actual draft bylaw itself.
Yep.
Look at the section where it exists, and if that makes sense to you, then that's important. We all will have a responsibility for bringing any issues that we find that we disagree with to this committee. And then we'll argue it out and determine what we really meant. And we'll see what Jeannie submitted. And so we'll do that. But thank you, Ralph. Bill?
I'm going to kind of echo what Ralph's saying, because I had multiple things, multiple screens, multiple computers, multiple documents, trying to cross-reference everything. Maybe with Jeannie's going into Jeannie's, what she sent us, might streamline it a little bit better. What I did find, I'm not finding a whole lot. I bet I got through, the first couple pages on my assignment real quick, just glancing at it. And what I'm seeing, a lot of typos and a lot of wordsmithing. No major differences, what I've seen so far. I don't know, once I get into it, to Ralph's point, a few long nights and some coffee and we'll go at it. I don't know if there's going to be anything substantive that I'm going to come up with. It's too early to tell.
Thank you, Bill. Are the typos that you found in the original document?
I haven't been able to determine that yet because I've got to figure out where, because the numbers don't all match up. So I've got to search
Right,
each
I
thing.
understand. No, I'm looking for, because I have not found any typos that were not in the original.
That, I'm going to suspect that that's going to be the case
Yeah,
because a lot of this stuff is bolded. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because of the language, you know, one, you know, a quick example. Said notice is, and it should be shall be. So the shall be is bolded. It's grammatical. It's not a substantive change.
I believe that I noticed, and you all should be aware of that they have put shall in a number of places that we did not ask for it.
Yes.
And I suspect that they may have told us this somewhere along the line, shells and wills. Jeannie, I think this was back when Tom was involved.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
I know that it's a issue for some because it really changes the intent.
Yeah,
And I
because
think that's where we're going to get bogged down because we're going to have to read the entire paragraph to see if it changes it.
right. I don't think it'll change it. It puts a different spin instead of will,
Right.
which is a future tense, or does, which is an active voice. You have shall, which is
Passive.
firm,
Yeah.
strongly worded. So, okay.
It all depends what the reference is.
I would indicate that what I have been doing is I open my book to my left. I open both the long page bylaws from soup to nuts and the list of questions. And I go back and forth on the screen between those two and my document. And I'm able to find it. Sometimes I don't find it where in the order that it's in the document. But when I eventually do find it, I then go back to my document and I put a new color check mark there indicating that I found it and I agree with it. Or even if I disagree with it, then I captured it on a writing.
Yep.
And I captured it and I will put this in a good form for our discussion later on. Tom, I don't expect you've had a chance to look at it, but I want to give you a chance to.
Yeah, no, I've looked at it a little bit. I've looked at it a little. The renumbering has been extremely fun, but I did print out at least the table of contents for the full draft, and that at least helps a little bit. At least you have the new chapter number and the name of the chapter, so you can kind of cross-reference a little bit faster.
Hey, that's smart. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Yep. Jeannie,
What's that?
any comments?
No, you didn't assign me anything, which I was really extremely grateful for. But I did go through the draft questions, and some were easy and some were quite confusing to me. So.
Well, you remember you were ultimately responsible. We just advise you.
Yeah.
So you're responsible for the whole thing. All right. It sounds like people would want to go through the questions, but before we do that, at the last meeting, we found that general code had mishandled, I'll use that term, the charter. And we determined what the charter should look like, and we made that decision, and we adjusted the charter to remove some of the unnecessary verbiage at the end, and that's behind us. However, we now have the council rules. I looked at the council rules, and they're not the right way. They did reorganize them in a different format, and they did not do almost any of the updates that are listed here. So I think we have a determination to make. Do we want to treat the council rules in the same way as we treat the charter and submit it as a PDF that we can change at our
Yes.
at our will, and submit it whenever we have substantial changes to make to the bylaws just submit that as part of it.
That makes, that makes sense. It shows we're going to be consistent because we're doing it that way with the charter. Let's do it that way with the town council rules.
Are there any pluses to leaving it this way?
No.
Hearing none? Okay.
Nope.
We also have the issue as to should we ask them to substitute it as a PDF in the format in which we wrote it, or because they have renumbered it and everything again. I would be an argument of doing the same as we did with the charter. This is our document,
That's,
it's our format.
Right.
It doesn't need to fit a bylaw format.
No, it doesn't.
But that's just me.
No, I agree with that because we're doing it for the charter. We might as well do it for the rules.
Ralph?
I would absolutely agree. I think the rules and regulations are something that the town council can change multiple times during the year if we need to. And we should just be able to submit a PDF to them and just say, take the one you've got out, put the new one in, and that's it. Very simple and easy that way.
Tom, any heartburn one way or another?
No, that's, I think if we're doing it one way for one, we should keep it rolling.
Okay, I have one more issue on that though, and that is the question of, should it be in this document?
No,
We know the charter is here because it's official. It was voted on by the town. And it forms the basis for our entire operation, including the bylaws. But the council rules, as we pointed out, are an internal document that really more relates to the 7 councilors and their interaction with the town manager. Yes, Bill.
I don't think the public is really going to understand what town council rules mean because the council devises the rules to guide them. I don't think it belongs in the charter at all or in this document at all.
Ralph?
I completely disagree.
Okay.
I believe any rules and regulations should all be contained within one area. And I think as we go along, this location E-code should contain all documents so that at any time someone needs something, they go here, they research it, boom, they pull it up, it's there. I see this more as a location to keep all these documents, whether we submit them as a PDF or as the charter or as a bylaw. I mean, each one's handled a little bit differently, but I think this is the location that you keep them in. And it just makes it simple for everything that way.
It is in an appendix, so I understand that is true. Tom?
Yeah, I guess I would lean more to agree with Ralph that if we're going to put everything together, we might as well just put everything in there. Then everybody can find whatever they want, whenever they want it, and it's all in the same spot.
Bill, you had something more?
How often do council rules change?
I would say infrequently, right, Ralph?
I would say from
Once a year?
what I've seen, once a year. Typically when the new members come on, we review the rules. Does anyone have any suggestions on improvements? I believe we did that last July. We haven't even done it since that point, to my knowledge.
All right, I get the argument. The reason I said it doesn't belong there is it's basically an internal document, but I understand what you guys are saying.
And I want to back up Bill in saying that, wondering whether the town's people really have I won't say the right, but the interest or the reason to get into this document that would make it necessary for us to post it. Is it available on our town website?
Yes,
It is. Okay. Well,
on the town council page.
that's one answer. All right.
Yeah, that's okay. So it's already out there for the public to view.
Absolutely.
Okay, then that takes care of what I was saying.
Yeah, even though it's an internal document, it is available to the public.
Okay, then I wasn't aware that your rules were on your website, but that's fine because it's already,
Sorry there.
so
Yeah,
I'm good.
we're not hiding anything.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I was, like I said, I wasn't aware because when I don't go looking for the rules and regulations of the town council. All right, so I wasn't aware that it was there. Okay, I'm good.
Jeannie, anything to add or subtract?
No, I was just thinking that I guess that would include then each board and commission, they have their own, and I hate when they use the word bylaws, like the rec commission has their own bylaws. I wish they'd call it their mission statement or something. So I think we'd have to discern how much stuff can go on there, you know. But if it's a PDF, it's just easy enough to have general code
Plug in.
swap it out, replace it when it's updated.
Okay, I would entertain a motion of someone to consolidate those three things that we just mentioned. Looks like Tom's moving. He's
Yeah.
muted. He's muted, but he's moving.
Pat,
And then the
Budget.
could we have like a separate motion to have the council rules treated the same as the charter?
That's what I'm looking for. I'm
Okay,
looking
so
for
that's
somebody.
okay.
We haven't really voted on anything at this point.
Okay,
So I'm looking for a motion for this committee to vote on all three of the issues. How to treat it, where it should be, what format it should be in. Can I make the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Over it. Jeannie,
what's that?
as the chair, can I make the motion? Is that
Yes,
appropriate?
I believe so.
Yes.
So the question of that is you can, but I think what most chairs would do is entertain the motion, then have somebody say, I move to whatever.
All right, you know what?
Let's do that.
What?
No, I lost my train of thought, sorry.
So Pat, why don't you entertain a motion and
I would
verbalize it?
entertain a motion that we remove the council rules, or that we include the council rules with the code, but reformatted back to the original format. I guess that's it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, Bill,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So Jeannie and I will work together to make sure that document meets our expectations and share it with you all. Is that good, Jeannie?
good.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
All right. I also, before we move to the 5 or 6 pages, I also want to let you know I've started another one of these cheat sheets, just like I did last time.
Ah.
I've got all 300 questions in here, and I'm checking off the page of the question and whether it's been checked and who checked it. Now that just means the initial check, because I'm assuming that others will be looking at it again in some other respect. But at least I'm going to capture that everybody has looked at their 10 pages that they were assigned, and eventually we'll be able to fill out this sheet and know that if someone has looked at all 300 of those questions and they believe they have found it, right or wrong, they found it. And if it's wrong, they've made a note so that we can attack it. Okay. Unless there are any disagreement, I would move to the draft questions document.
So
The 5 or 6 pages.
Pat, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
It's with regards to the charter. Jeannie, you sent them the brand new updated charter, and I'm assuming the enhancement at the back are now all included in it, because I remember it saying amended and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'm assuming they had an older charter and that's why it was done the way it was.
I
'Cause,
think what they did was they grabbed it off the website
yeah,
before the amendments and didn't ask us for the updated one. Because this did
Okay.
start way back when, so I think that's what they did.
okay.
Easy
Now
enough
that
to-
explains, like you said, because I was going through and I'm like, well, some of these were voted on a long time ago.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? How did they even get this? It was almost like they had the very first charter we ever wrote and they just said, nothing's changed.
Right.
This looks good.
Okay, thank you.
And for clarification purposes, Ralph, we did amend to remove some of that verbiage at the end. So
Right.
now the verbiage at the end simply says, paragraph thus and such, formerly read,
Right.
period. And
Yeah.
then the next paragraph thus and such, formerly read. We took out all the discussion. And in the document itself, the change is incorporated with a parenthetical expression saying amended XXX date.
Yep.
Jeannie, you have probably not sent that yet
To general code?
to General Code
No.
because they want everything at one time.
So when we're ready to get back to them, I'll send them the charter and then I'll send them the council rules as long as we look it over and it appears as the way we want it to appear,
Right.
as a PDF
So-
attachment.
That's perfect.
We're trying
Okay.
not to feed them. We're trying not to feed them piecemeal.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense.
All right. Thanks, Ralph. All right, draft questions. We agreed, Bill, I think, moved and we voted the town would like a final draft of the code prior to prior to publication. The next one is the decision on charter enhancements. And that, we also agreed, all the changes to the charter. So I think the checkbox would be other.
Right.
We are
Yes.
resubmitting the charter in a PDF form, not to be changed in any way. Yes, Jeannie?
I actually drafted what should be in that other box, and can I read it to you all?
Oh, good. Yes, please.
Yes.
The charter should be uploaded in its current PDF form as a non-code document and shall not be included in the text of the code. And I used non-code document because that's the verbiage they used in the original contract to refer
Okay,
to these type of documents.
Okay.
very nice. So I guess we can move on to the second page. Planning and Community Development. Chapter 115. They're talking about changing building commissioner, inspector of buildings. And when I looked at it, I found that it appeared that the building commissioner term that we used is true everywhere except one chapter where it says, what was the term they used? Public Works or something. I lost my train of thought. Anybody want to comment on that? Building commissioner should exist everywhere.
I
I
think the
thought
first
that-
box. Check the
Right.
first box, right?
Yes.
That's what I would do. I believe this came directly out of our old bylaw. And I think the main reason being is like in Springfield, you have a building commissioner. And then under the commissioner, you may have, I guess they would call them local inspectors. You know, you would have a
Yeah.
wiring inspector, a plumbing inspector. But like in Springfield, they also have inspectors of buildings. So for a larger overall picture that may work for us, I think just like what we said right at the beginning, to change building inspector to building commissioner Inspector of buildings should be building commissioner. So box 1.
Sounds good. I discovered that this particular chapter, 115, Planning and Community Development, this is a sidebar discussion, is also included under the same chapter is Director of Planning. So you have a Director of Planning and Community Development, and you have several paragraphs describing what the Director of Planning and Community Development does. And then right underneath it, you have Director of Planning, and you have several identical paragraphs as to what the Director of Planning does. So
Yeah.
we will be looking at that. And Tom found that we somehow crept into our code the Inspector of Wires.
Hmm.
Really?
Which, to our knowledge, we do
That's-
not have an
that's- We do. That's an electrical inspector, and we have one.
Oh,
So, and to your,
So under state calls it an inspector of wires. We call it
Really?
an electrical inspector.
I could
Really?
not find it. I could not find it in the old bylaws. Is it
I
there?
kind of just looked real brief and I couldn't find it either.
I don't believe it was in the old bylaws. I believe this came from Kevin Duquette when we sent out to all the department heads, asking them to look over their section and what works for them and what doesn't.
Okay.
Good. All right. I will now look for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think do we want to take a vote on this chapter, this first decision, building commissioner, or is it basically that's what we said first time and we still agree?
I don't think it needs a motion.
No.
We didn't
No, I don't
motion every one in the last time, so
And we
it'll be
didn't change.
minutes.
And we didn't
Yeah.
change.
No.
Okay. Chapter 175, Board of Public Works. I think, Tom, you worked on this
Yeah.
originally, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so I won't. But,
No. that the way that it is in the draft document is how we submitted it, and I'm guessing they're wondering why it changed so much, and it obviously is because the government changed and the Board of Public Works is now a advisory body instead of running the department. So I'm guessing they brought that up because of the major change of Board of Public Works from the old code or the old bylaw to the new bylaw. That's all I could come up with. The way it is in the draft is the way we submitted it, and that's sort of what we agreed on, and that's what the Board of Public Works is now.
good, then I would go with that. I will be looking at what chapter 120 says right now. Let's see.
I think that's the Department of Public Works, right? Or nope.
No.
So
I think they mean attachment B and the multi-member bodies, multiple member bodies that we submitted.
let me get out another media outlet here and see if I can open that up.
Chapter 120 was the Board of Public Works on the multiple member bodies attachment that we put together.
Right, but then it was renumbered to 119 in the draft.
It is 119 in the draft.
It's now 119, yes.
Yes, it is 119.
Okay.
So even the renumbering's confusing them.
Yes, it is.
But if I look at 119, I want to be sure that we are talking about the same thing. Come on, come on, come on. 119 is Public Works Department.
Yeah.
Should be
So-
replaced by the Board of Public Works provisions.
So they both exist. So they should both be in here. Obviously.
Right.
Yeah, this is basically just the
That's the department.
generic verbiage of the
Right.
department
Correct.
and the composition and the general duties and responsibilities and the annual report, period. So it's the department. and
Okay, so,
not the person.
all right. So their chapter 175, this is their issue then. Their 175 is different than their 120. So that's the middle. I think.
175 is Board of Public Works.
Correct. And chapter 120 in appendix B of must have been our submittal
Yes,
is different.
right.
Yes.
So they're wondering which one to pick, and it's the one that they selected in the draft. I think has more.
So they're chapter 175?
Yeah,
it-
because it has the membership and water and sewer rates and then duties. I think it's the one in the draft is more comprehensive than the chapter 120. And I don't know how it changed from this document to that document, but maybe we should look into that a little bit further. The new chapter 175 in the draft, man, this is confusing.
Yeah.
Is the way the rest of the boards are in the draft, which is membership, duties, powers and
Of the board.
right,
Of the board.
of the
And
board.
the other is the duties of the department, which are very different because those are administrative duties as opposed to the board, which is
Correct.
advisory. So I think they're both, do you not see them as both correct, Tom?
What I'm saying is the attachment B, chapter 120 that they're referring to is in fact the Board of Public Works.
That's what we submitted to them.
Right. So now the chapter 175 Board of Public Works in the draft is different than the chapter 120 Board of Public Works in appendix B that we submitted.
Well, within their question, they said it's ours was less detailed.
Correct.
So I
Yeah.
wonder if they're putting more meat on its bones, and
Right.
I guess it's which one do we want?
But where did they get that?
I don't know.
But,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it in the original general bylaws that they're saying, general provisions? Let me see if I can find that.
Because in the draft, there is no chapter 120.
no. I'm
And that's
looking,
what threw me off.
No, I think
Because-
we numbered our own
Right?
based on alpha order.
Correct.
Because I was going around in circles trying to find 120 and I couldn't find it.
Well, we know we have two places it needs to be. One is multiple member bodies, and that would be one write-up, and the other is the department, which would be the other write-up. And it seems like we have both of them and they do not conflict. And if they're saying that they put the more detailed one in, we like that.
Right.
It looks fine to me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in there to. It's all for the board. It's all recommend. The water and sewer rates is town council sets the rates based on recommendations by the board and the town manager. I don't think there's anything that in there that we didn't talk about. That's why I'm wondering how they changed our chapter 120 to get to this, which is actually better, and I don't want to admit that on camera.
Late.
Tom,
It's out there.
I think you actually wrote this.
I know, but okay, yes, I did. Thank you very much.
I think you actually wrote this. I mean, we put you to it
Yeah.
and asked you to try to come up with what the limited duties are now of the Board of Public Works.
Right.
And we looked at it and
Okay.
liked it.
So
Ralph,
we must,
does it look good to you?
I'm lost.
Which binder are you looking at?
Yeah,
I'm trying to flip through everything and I'm finding chapter 119, which is what we had gone through, the Public Works Department.
Yeah.
And then I'm finding the Board of Public Works.
chapter
But
1.
where are you guys finding attachment B, chapter 120?
That's what we submitted.
Jean's original email.
yeah.
When I sent you guys the final workbook with the attachments, they could have taken it from 4.08 of the general bylaws that are existing and just, you know,
Right.
consolidated it to a shorter format, but made it more than what we submitted.
I'm less interested in finding attachment B, chapter 120 than I am in looking at the two documents
Yeah.
and seeing that they seem to make sense as written.
I guess
We
it's
wanna-
which one do we want?
Well, we want both.
Yeah,
So the two documents that you're talking about is the Board of Public Works and the department.
a multi-member body.
As they exist in the draft bylaws.
Right.
Okay.
now.
So the chapter 175 is they actually spell it out. So it's reflects changes identified in the town's analysis responses rather than the less detailed provisions in attachment B, which was sent with the completed analysis.
Okay.
So we checked a box, rewrote after, well, geez, I'm going to get screwed up. In questions, we selected something to make 175 what it is. Then we submitted a different, the chapter 20 in attachment B, and they used the better one that we all decided when we were doing the workbook.
But what question was that? Do you know? I mean,
Oh, geez, here we go.
come on. Tom.
Binder 3, hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm flipping through.
Uh,
'Cause I thought I looked for that. I didn't see it in here. I looked for that.
I just, Board of Public Works
Oh, here it is.
is
what page?
120, 63 in our workbook there. Question 120, 001 and 002, but I don't,
Where they could have gotten it too is from, remember that big Google Doc with
Oh, that-
everybody's comments in it
I think
Yeah.
that
that
maybe
they
you're
didn't
right.
get and we had to resend it to them? That could be what they're referring to.
Okay, so that's the town's analysis responses. That's what they're saying.
Yes, yeah.
First big, huge document. So
I would say,
they grabbed some stuff from everywhere and made a chapter 175, basically.
well, actually, yeah, so question 120-002 had comments from Bruce,
Yep.
talked about chapter 90, which is in there. And then we wanted them to include the stormwater rates.
Right.
And sewer, which they did. So I guess that did conflict with what we sent as the attachment.
Okay. So
So
there
is
may
there-
be a revise as follows. If we have to add the stormwater rates to the water and sewer rates section, which is not there in the draft, that was a suggestion we made on the workbook that didn't get.
Yeah, let me look in the final,
Yeah, it didn't get incorporated.
Right.
question 120.
So what they ended up with 175 is better than our submittal of 120, but they missed the stormwater rates, which also have to be approved by town council. Based on the recommendation, just same as the sentence says, just add stormwater to water and sewer.
Okay, so when I look at the final workbook, if anybody can access that,
No, not right now.
okay. So it's
I
question
got too many things going on.
002. It's what we wrote out. It's what we gave them.
Okay.
So we gave them that in the workbook, yet we gave them a different attachment when we put all the multi-member bodies together.
So there you go. So they were
Yeah.
looking for clarification on which one to use because we
Yeah.
gave them two. And
So I
they,
think we should use the one in the workbook because it is more, we did put verbiage in there. There was thought put into it.
so yeah. So I guess I could make a motion if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
So I move we revise as follows, and that would be to use the Chapter 175 Board of Public Works that appears in the draft, but we add stormwater to 175-2 water and sewer rates.
I'll second that.
So Tom, where does that stormwater rates come from again?
So that was one of our comments in the workbook.
Yeah,
Because the stormwater is now an enterprise fund, those rates need to be approved by town council as well based on recommendation. So it's the same sentence.
It's
Except
question
for-
120-02.
Yeah.
Right, correct.
In-
That
in-
would now, I guess, would now read water, comma, sewer, and stormwater rates.
Okay.
And would you
Yeah.
amend your motion to also include 175-3 where it's also mentioned?
Yes, please.
So anybody want to second it?
I'll second that again.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion, and my further discussion would be that now that I look at it, in fact, my workbook indicates that we submitted the shortened version. And we as a committee approved that shortened version based on Bruce's input. It basically says in four lines, everything that's in there, and we added stormwater rates. So it muddies the waters, I know, but we as a committee did approve based on Bruce's input, the shortened version, and now
Oh, and we have stormwater in there.
general code has improved it. So that would be my discussion, is that I do not object to substituting this, but we should know that the shortened version was created by Bruce and approved by us and submitted by Jeannie. Any further discussion?
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. I guess I don't feel strongly either way at this point. I mean, the stormwater note got added to the chapter 120 that we did in the workbook.
Yep.
Well, the stormwater has to be in there, right? That's the
Right, but
bottom line.
it already is. So if we just keep chapter 120, which we agreed upon, then we're all set. Right?
If, no, I think your motion is to approve the
Correct. I would be rescinding that motion, sir.
more lengthy version,
Right.
and it's been seconded.
Okay.
Would you like to withdraw that, Tom?
I think based on that, the only reason we were selecting it and adding stormwater, and the shorter one has stormwater already. So there's really no reason to do that. I'd be willing to do that if Bill's willing to withdraw his second.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
good
God.
with, you know,
Wow.
and we run the
So I
town.
would, yeah, I mean, I think, Pat, that's a good point. I think, like you said, Bruce wrote that, we approved it, and it's got everything that we're looking for. So I think that's okay. And yes, I will withdraw my motion.
Yeah, we're good.
So let me look again. You're saying 119
So
includes stormwater?
the 120 that they, the decision should be, chapter should be replaced by Board of Public Works provisions included in attachment B, chapter 120.
I believe so, as long as we are sure that that attachment B, chapter 120, did include stormwater.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
It did?
Yes.
Right.
It just shall set water, sewer, and stormwater rates based upon the recommendations, et cetera.
Yep.
So it's the second box?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And that's no change either, right?
Nope.
Uh,
No, it is a change. We want our version.
Yeah,
No.
chapter should be replaced.
No. I see what you're saying, but in spirit of the last one, we're not voting on anything because we didn't change anything. That's what we submitted.
Right.
Right.
Oh, you just don't want your name on it, right?
So we all agree it should be the second box then?
It
Yeah.
should be the second box. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Ralph,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
You have to wake them up.
Oh, I argued in favor of the lengthier version substantially before Tom picked up on it and made the motion, so it's my
No.
fault.
Nope.
All right.
It's worth the discussion.
Conservation Commission.
Here we go.
Jeez.
My initial reaction was that they fit better by being retained as they are in the draft, but I'll entertain other comments.
So Pat, if I'm reading this correctly, I'm going to agree with you. It looks like, from what I could tell, Chapter 190 is the Conservation Commission, but then we had created a separate wetlands bylaw, which is addressed later on, which is very in-depth, and I would keep the two of those separate.
Agree.
Did you say you agree, Bill?
I did.
Yeah. Tom does. I do too.
We get that in writing? Everyone's agreeing?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so it would be box number, the first box, retain chapters 190 and 424 as they appear in the draft.
Right.
Right.
Jeannie, you good with that?
Yes.
All right.
So, sorry,
So-
Pat. Before we go on, I guess the third. Do we want to add just for
That's what I was thinking, Tom. I know I'm reading your mind.
the third?
Um,
The third choice is to add a powers and duties to that chapter 190, and keep 424, which is the Conservation Commission's duties and authorities shall include, but shall not be limited to those specified in MGL Chapter 40. MGL Chapter 131. See also Chapter 424, Wetlands Protection of the Town Bylaws.
I think that actually gives you a good reference to connect Chapter 190 Conservation to 424.
I do too.
That was on the next
Right.
page. I hadn't turned to that yet.
Yeah, you know, I did the same thing. So I do agree with that.
Cross-reference.
Right.
It's worded kind of funny. It doesn't say retain chapter 190.
It-
It says
it's-
Yes,
add the section, so it's by implication.
Gotcha. So we're we would retain 424 and 190 like we said, but we'd also add 190-2 powers and duties, which is, like Ralph said, tells you what they do, but it also refers you to the chapter that you're going to
Right.
really want to look for to get all that information.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, who can check that bylaw reference?
The 424?
So
Right.
chapter, General
MGL?
laws, chapter 40, 8C and MGL 131. Jeannie, would that be something you can do?
Yep.
Just to be sure that as we approve something that we didn't approve before, that the references are correct.
Yep.
Guess I need another computer.
Need another brain.
Just real quick, MGL 13140 is in fact the Wetlands Protection Act.
And section 8C is the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
Great.
And I got that right from chapter 424, so that's in there down the road.
Right.
Perfect.
That's what I was looking for.
okay.
So we are agreed that it's the third box, the box
Correct.
on the next page.
Give us a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
No other boxes.
not yet.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Okay,
All right, the next issue is chapter 376, property maintenance. They say they received two different changes to the text. I did not have time to go into that in detail.
Nor did I.
Neither did I.
no, I didn't either.
Let's defer that,
That was
Okay.
confusing.
because that's a lot of, Jeannie, you want something to say?
No, I said that. Yeah, I said that was the confusing one. One of the
Yes,
confusing
it was.
It's going to take a while, I think, to give that its proper due. So number 5, chapter zoning, moratorium and ground mounted solar.
I wrote Ralph.
I did too.
I always
Once I
write.
saw zoning,
So that I had just sent them that, after it was passed. So that
Poor
was
Rob.
just recent.
So what they're looking is if the placement is correct.
Right.
oh, yeah,
Yes. And if it is correct, is it correct as being placed within the sequence of numbers, or whether it should be just a footnote? And my immediate reaction was, if it's temporary, it should be a footnote, because it is a temporary moratorium.
Is it?
It's a temporary, but it was a bylaw change. And that's why I had to come up with a specific location for it. I'm just trying to find it now. Purpose.
Well, then I understand.
So, well,
Because you're right. We don't have a bylaw in there right now.
we kind of beat this one around for a long time because we don't have a bylaw right now.
Well, actually, currently we have a moratorium bylaw that we just passed.
Right, but I don't know if that was passed when we discussed it. I can't remember back
It was
if it
not.
was or not.
No.
So that's probably why.
So will this then get replaced by, I assume, a ground mounted bylaw, like an actual bylaw once we come up with one? There will be no more need for the moratorium bylaw.
Let me ask a question. Was there a bylaw on
Yes,
ground mounted solar before? I believe there was.
yes, there was.
And where is that, Ralph? Please.
Where is it now?
In the document that in the final draft.
It's under 450, chapter 450,
Yeah.
10.0, Article 10, ground mounted photovoltaic installations.
Ground mounted, yes.
That's where I'm looking. And it's got,
So basically, they've changed the numbers, is what I'm looking at. Background and purpose, temporary moratorium, and then 10.1. This is actually in the correct spot. And what'll happen is once the temporary moratorium goes away, we will be removing section 450-10.0, which will leave the ground mounted, which at that point will probably change anyways, because at some point we're hoping to get a new solar bylaw. So chances are 450-10, the whole solar bylaw will change. And so this whole section of the zoning will end up changing. But for right now, the way it is correct. If that helps anyone.
How long, any determination on how long the moratorium is in place for?
Yes, it's my October, is it 1st of next year? It's either September or October. It's 1 year.
Okay.
Which means we're hoping everything goes through properly and all, and that we actually have E-code up and running by next October. So,
Okay.
It's actually in B, September 1, 2021,
Okay.
or earlier.
Well,
yeah, the moratorium will run out if we create a solar bylaw that addresses it.
okay. It's just for reference. That all helps. Okay, thank you.
Okay, but Ralph, you indicated that there was a pre-existing ground-mounted photovoltaic installation bylaw, and I don't see it here.
It used to start at 10.1. They just jammed 10.0 in front of that, and that's the temporary moratorium. Once it goes to 10.1, that's the purpose of the ground-mounted photovoltaic installation. So the bylaw is still there. They just preempted it with 10.0 to say that there's a temporary moratorium.
That's why I think it's a good spot too.
That's a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm referring to the experts on this one.
So Pat, do you see it?
I see it. I understand. I'm not sure I agree as to the placement. I would think that the bylaw as it existed would be first, and then the temporary moratorium would be somewhat later, but I defer to the group.
So the reason we didn't do it that way when we voted on it, when the council voted on it, is so that when you do your research and you pull up solar bylaw, the
It
first
comes
thing
right at
you
you.
see is that there's a moratorium.
Comes right at
You
Yep.
can't go any further. There's a moratorium in place. Once we get past the moratorium, then these are the regulations. But
But isn't that moratorium specific to certain sizes of installations? And so there really isn't a temporary moratorium on all ground mounted. It's only on.
there
certain-
isn't. And
certain
that's why
large-
we wanted it at the beginning, so that as you read through it, you'll see that. So currently what we allow is industrial garden park districts to have ground mounted. What we put the moratorium on is residential districts for ground mounted,
Right.
and based on capacity and all. But that's what we wanted them to see first. Hey, read this first before you go through all this process of trying to get a site plan and everything, because you may not even be able to go further.
All right.
And I think as we go forwards, this is going to be a moot point, and I'm hoping 6 months we'll be saying to E-code, hey, you got to update this right now. So
Any further discussion?
Nope.
Anybody?
box one.
So I think we should at least have a show of hands here. Everyone agrees then that it should be where it is. Okay, good. So that would be bullet number 1. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy, we're cruising through these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You aren't going to be cruising through the others.
And screeching halt is coming.
Oh, why?
Yes, it is.
Are you turning into a pumpkin?
And we skipped the hard one on purpose.
Yeah, we did. We skipped the hard one. Tom's right. All right, fee schedule. I think this is, as I understand it, this is a legal interpretation issue. We don't create the fee table as a separate bylaw. Instead, the fee table is populated by the bylaws that we vote in the body. And it's designed to be identical to and reflect those bylaws that we voted on in the body. I don't know how you phrase that, but is that the way you understand it, guys?
Yeah, the fees are already, the fees
Not
are
all of them,
determined by bylaw, and then, but like, yeah, I guess there's not all of them are gonna be in there, right?
So
We thought there would be. We thought they should be. Ralph?
Well, for
Um,
instance, we were just talking about Department of Public Works and Board of Public Works, and there's fees mentioned, but they're not in there.
And we believe they're missing. They should be.
But we can't add them because they change. You know, so we can't, they're not always gonna be in the body of the bylaw, but they should be in the fee schedule.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this was one of those that we talked about at some point, sending maybe a questionnaire around to all departments and say, what are your fees? Because the
Yeah.
charter requires that the town council is responsible for all fees. And so we have to create a bylaw according to the charter. So it's not in there because it's never been done. It will be done, but we thought at this point it was probably a little bit more complicated than what we wanted to get into because of so many different things happening in town.
I
don't
remember
know.
that. I agree.
Yeah.
Also, that if they're not in there now, we did not submit them to the town council when the town council voted on the 27 items or whatever that we deemed to be significant changes, of which the change is significant.
So I think at some point we're going to need, like Tom said, a fee schedule at the back that will include all fees within the town. And that will also include whatever's within the text. But the fee schedule at the back is probably going to be a lot more in depth.
Yeah.
Or should we just populate it with the fees that are in the text?
No, I think all fees of the town should be on the fee schedule.
I agree with that. I thought we talked about that, putting all
But
the fees in
all or
one spot.
nothing. What you're saying is it's all or nothing.
Right.
I mean, for right now, I think we include what we have, knowing that we're going to expand on it as we go along.
Well, I would agree with that.
Would it help if I sent an email to all the department heads asking them to send me their fees in table format
Yeah.
or to compile?
Yeah.
But yeah, only the fees that are bylaws, right?
Well, according to the charter, all fees within the town
Right.
Yeah.
will be handled by the council. And basically we have to create a bylaw to say, hey, these are the fees in town.
Well, fee changes, Ralph. I understand. I think fee changes will be handled by the council, but if a fee pre-existed the council, would that be true?
Yes, because it says establish all fees, fines, penalties, the council is responsible. So basically, when we did the charter, what we tried to do is say, hey, the council is responsible for all monies. So whether it's a penalty, a fee, or whatever that's not set by general law, Mass General Law occasionally will say the fee for non-mowing of your lawn is $50, and you can't ever change that. That's under general law. But if it's not there, then it's up to the council to make a decision. And what we should be doing is once a year reviewing the fee schedule and see if we want to make any updates.
I understand, but we've never done that. And I
Yeah.
believe there are a number of fees that pre-existed the establishment of this new form of government, which are being charged every week. So the question, and I agree with you totally, if they're changed, we need to go to the council, but I'm not sure that I would exclude them simply because they haven't been re-approved by the council. I'll entertain further discussion though.
What if I went ahead and tried to get all the fees from department heads, put it into one document for council approval of the fees in that one document as presented? Then they'd be approved and we could put it in the code or submit it to general code?
That would require a bylaw, wouldn't it, Ralph? So that would
Yes.
require a bylaw.
Well, it's in the charter.
Right.
Yeah,
So in the charter, the specific section is under what requires a bylaw.
Right,
right.
right.
And the fees,
And
the
fees-
establishment of fees and all does. And
Absolutely.
I think it's a process going forwards that we just need to do and create the bylaw and say, hey, we have a bylaw, here's the fee schedule, here's all the fees in town.
What would the bylaw read? How would it read? You don't need a new bylaw for every approval, right? It would have to be created in a way so you didn't have a new bylaw every time you had to approve a changing fee.
No, what you would do is modify the existing fee schedule, which would be a bylaw change. So once a year, you look at it and you vote to amend the existing bylaw by changing whatever fees you wanted to.
Wow.
Or modify, either way.
I mean, we hold a town council meeting anyways for that list of the fees, you know, what it is for dog licenses or whatever, whenever those change. It's basically the same thing. You just look over the whole thing at once. And what
What I
that'll
hear-
do is allow departments to make recommendations on a yearly basis on whether the fees should be adjusted.
So what I hear you saying is that the bylaw itself that created the fee with all the description as to how that bylaw is implemented and who implements it can't and establishes the fee, can't by itself populate a table. As I see the bylaw change coming to the bylaw, not to the fee table, and that's just a different way of looking at it, I
Yeah.
know.
I just don't think it's appropriate to have to write a separate bylaw for every single fee in town, like a bylaw for a trench permit, a
No.
bylaw to open up the road, a bylaw to, I mean, that would, that would overdo it. Like I said, I do agree with you, though. There are certain ones that say such and such a fee has been established or whatever. And I mean, that should be in the fee schedule and it may be a separate bylaw, but it's
Yes,
a
Tom?
form of
Yeah.
government.
Isn't that how we wrote the stormwater bylaw to specifically leave the actual fee out of the bylaw so that it could be referenced in a different way, so we didn't have to change the bylaw every time we changed the fee, which
That is true, you did.
Yeah.
You still require council approval to change the fee,
correct, which those are all submitted with the budget, right?
but it doesn't technically change the bylaw. So yeah, that's a good point.
Are those fees or are they rates?
So
Like, there's a
great,
sewer rate,
so,
there's a
Right.
water rate, and
so
because
but
of being through the enterprise fund.
right, and so and yeah, and so I don't know how that happens without, you know, if you have some fees listed in the individual bylaws and some not, then you have a bylaw for just the fee schedule. Well, you're going to have to go, if you change that fee, you got to change the fee schedule and you got to go back to the bylaw and change that fee. Is that, I mean,
Some
just trying-
occasions, yes,
I'm just trying to get at what you're getting at. So
yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So, but there would be a bylaw called fee schedule.
That would be my thought process.
Okay, I was just trying to, my mind was going in like 10 different directions. I was trying to get to where you were headed. Okay. I mean,
Really hasn't been
Again,
done since the council has
It
been
it
started.
hasn't.
No.
Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things within the charter that should be done, but obviously it's a slow process. That's why there's a transition period. And
right.
Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, we said we'd be lucky if we had it done in the first 5 years.
Yeah, by the first review, and we're going through the first review now.
I believe Russ Denver laughed at us and said 10 years.
Yeah, he did.
Well, we
So,
have several options here. One option would be to defer this completely for this go around and simply
Well-
put the fee table in there as a placeholder.
we keep deferring things. We're gonna have quite a list on our hands.
Now, I
Yeah.
mean, defer it for this whole project and wait till
Oh.
the council
Oh, all
actually
right.
establishes a bylaw and until we assemble all of the fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay. I misunderstood you.
So
Yeah, I think
rather
it's
than,
The
rather
agenda
than,
policy.
rather than try to do this within the next 45 days or 6 months or, 3 months or whatever, we punt and we say fee schedules as C fees within the sections of the bylaw for now.
I mean, what they're asking is they've created the fee schedule, but the only fees that they've included in it are what they found in the bylaw.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with that for right now. I mean, leave it that way. And then it's up to us as a council to add all the other fees that we need to into it.
So we would need a paragraph of some statement saying not all possible fees are listed in this fee schedule. See also the detailed sections of the bylaws.
Well, no, that's what they're saying is they went through all the bylaws.
Yeah.
And they're pulling out whatever the fees were and they've created this table based on that. What I'm saying is there may be additional fees that we have to add later based on what the departments answer to go into this fee schedule. I mean, E-code is pulling out everything that currently they can find.
I hesitate to leave it just with the implication that all fees are listed without saying something about there are other town fees that may not be listed. That's, anybody else?
So you're saying you're not comfortable having an incomplete fee schedule?
No, I'm comfortable with the incomplete fee schedule as long as we say it's incomplete.
As long as we say,
Yeah.
So
we
that-
just
so-
add incomplete in front of fee schedule?
no, just a statement saying not all fees, for all town bodies are listed in this fee
Are
schedule.
currently listed.
Yeah. I
Something
mean,
like that. So
put a
that-
disclaimer in there and it takes care of it.
that's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because if they're not all there and they're not gonna be there, we're gonna get this thing published hopefully before the council tackles this. It's gotta read that way.
So the table, there's a sentence that says the following table lists fees charged for various town services. So we could add a phrase after that saying all town fees are not necessarily included in this table.
Not
Right.
not all town fees are necessarily included in this table.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
so
okay with
And
that.
that could take care of it.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that we mostly seem to want to have this fee schedule listed, that we want to have the current fees that they've captured in there, and that we want just a disclaimer that indicates that not all possible fees are listed currently.
Because it's a start and there's a place for it. So that's
Right.
a good
Yeah.
start.
That sounds
Yep.
good. And yeah, we can add to something that already has a little bit of a body to it.
Does
Right.
anyone object?
No.
Then the real issue So we're not going to formally adopt it by the council as a bylaw? I mean, that's really the question that they're asking.
Is it just going to?
Is this table going to be formally adopted by the town council? And the table was formally adopted by the town council in that they voted to add the fees to the table.
Right.
In
Wouldn't it
open,
be adopted as part of the code?
in
Yes.
open
Adopt
meeting.
the code,
So
it'll
yes,
be included.
yes.
Exactly.
Be part of this code process.
Yeah.
By default, by default.
What
They
they're
don't-
saying is by a separate bylaw.
Right.
They don't seem to list that as an option though.
It'll
Yeah.
be another.
It's, yeah, I think it's other,
It is.
As follows.
Yes.
that it's
By-
adopted as part of the code adoption process. So I guess what they mean is that that's number one,
Okay.
will be adopted at the time of adoption of the code.
Right.
Right. Okay. So it's the first box in the first decision.
Right.
Yeah. And we are not going to go searching for other fees as letter B asks us to do, right?
Right.
Not at this time, right?
Not at this time.
Yeah.
Second box in the second decision.
Yes.
So, second decision, yeah, no additional fees.
Okay.
And then the last one, for draft purposes, fees are included alphabetically by subject matter.
I like the way it is.
Yeah.
So that would be the second box if everybody agrees.
Organization of the table as it appears in the draft. Yep.
Okay.
I kind of wanted the big fines first and then down to the little ones, but that's okay.
I don't think you can do that.
There's another one. There's another one.
Yeah,
What?
there's another one. Supplementation of the table. After the new code is published, it can be updated if necessary.
What?
The last page actually does have a continued question. It's called letter D, supplementation of table,
Why didn't I print that one out?
because a number of people indicated there were really only 5 pages.
But I printed 6. I don't know. I didn't get it. I don't know where it is.
There was a blank page.
You mean you printed 4, Bill?
There
No,
was
I
a
actually
blank
printed 3. Printed on both sides. But I don't have what you're talking about.
Okay, the prior section ended with question C. And
Yes.
and the last page has question D, supplementation of table. After the new code is published, it can be updated as necessary through a regular process of supplementation. If the town adopts future bylaws that includes new fees and/or revised fees, should we also update this fee schedule, or should the fee schedule only be updated if the town specifically amends the schedule?
I did find it.
So if the thought for having it there was that those are the fees listed in the bylaws, if we add a bylaw with a fee, it should be added to the table automatically.
That's what it's saying.
Well, that's what it's asking.
Ralph?
Well,
Because if we adjust a bylaw and the fee in a bylaw, I think it goes without saying that, I mean, to me anyways, that the schedule would be updated. So
Yeah.
either when we write a bylaw to adjust the fee, we can say, and this will include, the fee schedule being updated
Right.
as part of the wording in the bylaw.
Anybody disagree?
nope.
Nope, I'm certainly in favor of bullet number or box number 1. Update fee schedule and supplementation anytime a fee changes or is added.
And I'm guessing we can change that as we go along too. I think.
Wow, I can't believe it. we got through it except for the ugly.
Tip
ugly-
number 4.
Yeah.
All right, that's your homework. I'm going to look into it. You're going to look into it, I'm sure. What else? I don't want this meeting to run on any longer. I think we've asked a lot of everybody, and so I'm willing to entertain any other questions.
Next meeting?
Right.
So we're willing to continue to proceed to look at our 10 pages and try to come up with any errors, difference data, missing things, and be ready to report at the next meeting. Is that right?
It's a start.
And the one we skipped here, right? Number 4.
Yeah, we got to go back to 4.
Right.
So we need to schedule another meeting. Is this a good time?
Yes,
Except for Ralph.
except for Ralph, right?
7 p.m. works a little bit better for me, but that's okay.
Tuesdays and
Dark at
Thursdays
6 now.
aren't. Tuesdays and Thursdays aren't great, but I can make them work, no doubt. Since I'll follow Ralph's example.
Ralph, is 3 any better? It really doesn't make a difference.
No, any time that's a little bit later. Like I said, I mean, 2 o'clock makes it difficult. It really pretty much takes out the rest of your day. So
Tom, do you mind going to 4:30?
No,
Bill, you okay with 3 o'clocks generally?
I'm good. I'm whatever.
How about a Wednesday rather than a Thursday if Thursdays are bad for Tom?
Thursdays, you're gonna have conflicts with,
Thursday?
Wednesdays, you're gonna have conflicts with other boards.
Ah,
Not at 3, but at 4, if you go later, you will.
oh, so there's a calendar, isn't there?
There is a calendar, yeah.
Didn't you have that?
Yeah, I forgot about it. I'm looking at it.
That's why I pipe in.
Sorry, Don.
That's okay.
Thank
It's
you,
gonna take
Don.
time. It's a
Wait,
work in
wait.
progress.
Wave when you say goodbye.
So, hello. So I see it on Wednesday, there's a 6 o'clock zoning board of appeals meeting. Don,
Are we talking October, when are we talking here?
the 30th? Is that what we're talking, a week out, you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, and that, again, so a lot of these things on this calendar, Jean, are placeholders
Okay,
for the sake of organizing the calendar and keeping things apart that might happen.
yeah,
As far as I know, the ZBA they only have a meeting when there's something that comes up that's scheduled. So the 30th, which is a Wednesday,
at 3.
because that happens to be the 5th Wednesday,
There won't be.
that's an odd week for the other 2. So typically Wednesdays don't work, but a 5th Wednesday is a free day. So
so we could do 3 o'clock on the 30th?
you could do 3 o'clock on the 30th.
Everybody good?
Works for me.
Works for me.
I'm
Thank
putting
you.
it in there right now. Bylaw 3 p.m.
That's terrific. And the key, one of the key things we want to discuss, guys, next time is what date we should use for an
Right.
extension.
Yep.
Because we're going to get a better feel now for the job. And if it's just the 40 pages and looking at some of the new stuff that we put in, that we added, which is basically just formatting, and reading through the bylaw quickly, how long, should we push through until December or January? And I want to discuss that at that point. So 3 p.m. Wednesday, September 30th, bylaw review.
I'm also, if I can jump in, Pat, one more thing, so you know, as far as getting your invites, at this point, all you need to do is go to the existing invite. We're just simply going to change the date on the meeting so that the invites you all have, and this would apply to all the boards that you're all on, that invite will get you into the next meeting.
Just
Okay.
don't delete the email.
Just don't,
Right.
yeah, don't delete the email. But,
Okay,
yeah, because there's a problem with sending new invites and people say 2 minutes before the meeting, I didn't get the invite, and so you have all the invites you need, more than enough. So just click on the old invite and it will get you into the new meeting.
Okay.
All right,
sounds good, Don. Thank you.
you bet. Well, thank Ryan.
Anybody have any other issues?
No.
Raise. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone's an aye.
Aye.
Everyone's
Roll
an aye.
call vote. Aye, aye,
Roll
aye.
call, aye.
Let